In Oceanside, California, there is a restaurant called Hunter's Steakhouse. Hunter's Steakhouse has a reputation of being extremely haunted, and there is a very good reason why. Here's what happened. The steakhouse is built on top of land that was once the Buena Vista Cemetery. The cemetery was in use from 1888 till about 1916, and it's estimated about 50 bodies were buried there. So on January 24th of 1970, workmen began the task of removing the bodies and transferring them to El Camino Memorial Park in Sereno Valley. When excavation began, 17 bodies were discovered. The headstones to the bodies, unfortunately, were not transported with the bodies. They were used as fill to make the ramp to Highway 78, which is pretty messed up. So during the grading process to build a gas station and Hunter's Steakhouse, more of those bodies were discovered. According to reports, the city was called, and an employee from the engineering department decided to take a burlap sack and remove the bones and stick the bones in the sack. And then the crew was basically told to continue their work. This happened at least one other time, and as the digging continued, outlines of other coffins were discovered. One of those coffins had a lead glass top with the remains of a woman in an 1800s dress, and her hair, she was a redhead, and her hair was in perfect condition. Work basically stopped after that discovery because the workmen were a little unnerved. So depending on the source, in the accounts of the individual, there was about 6 more bodies that were discovered during that project. The redheaded woman in black was said to be reburied basically by the lagoon. They were kind of concerned about what was going to happen with her remains, so the workmen decided that it would be more dignified to rebury her closer to the lagoon instead of basically being stuck in a burlap sack. So between 17 bodies being moved and about 6 more discovered, it is safe to say that there's probably more bodies still buried underneath Hunter's Steakhouse. In October of 1991, a Texaco was built, and during that development, 5 more bodies were discovered. Even with 5 more bodies discovered, the math still ain't mathin'. So because of this, the restaurant is now said to be haunted. Both employees and guests have reported seeing apparitions within the restaurant. One is of a cowboy, apparently. Reports of the police having to check the restaurant every now and again because the alarm has been set off by itself. There is now a plaque that sits on the sidewalk in front of the restaurant, commemorating the cemetery and those who were buried in it. I would love to do an investigation there at some point in the parking lot and somewhere by the lagoon. Probably gonna wait until it's not so hot.